Vítam vás pri ďalšej epizóde podcastových rozhovorov na tému PwC a šport. Dnes sa ponoríme do príbehu, ktorý popiera prirodzené očakávania. Predstavte si, že vymeníte svetla štadióna a buracajúci dav za tabuľky, čísla a auditorské postupy. Náš hosť je bývalý profesionálny športovec, ktorý sa odvážne rozhodol opustiť kariéru, o ktorej mnohí iní snívajú a vydal sa cestou kariéry v PwC. Čo všetko človeka k takémuto rozhodnutiu vedie, akú mentálnu zmenu to vyžaduje a ako si nanovo definovať úspech? V tomto rozhovore sa pozrieme na myšlienkový proces a dôvody za takouto výnimočnou premenou. Verte mi, toto si budete chcieť vypočuť. Hello everybody, I'm going to have a very interesting guest here today in my episodes of PwC and Sport. As you see, we're going to have it in English and I will explain very soon why we have it in English. Murphy Smith here, a high elite baseball player coming from US, joining us here in PwC Slovakia just very recently. So, welcome, Murphy.
Yes, thank you very much. Good to be here.
Fantastic. Murphy, as we spoke briefly before, these episodes are about parallel between high elite sportsmen and us being professionals in what we do, and how did the journeys of our life got us to that place. Your story is slightly different to the others that I had before, because you used to be a complete high elite focused baseball player, maybe thinking about your career this way, and then switching completely to accounting. So, but before talking about it myself, I want, maybe just for you to introduce yourself a little bit and tell us how you got yourself here.
Yeah, absolutely. Great to be here first. So I'm a U.S. manager, came here from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm here serving as on a secondment for 2 to 3 years, primarily supporting a U.S. team and overseeing the component work here. But yeah, as you mentioned, previously I had a long career in baseball before getting into my accounting career. And so, yeah, we can kind of dive into maybe that journey a little bit for sure, but definitely a different background, I would say, unique compared to most of my colleagues, and always an interesting thing to talk about for sure.
Fantastic. Whereabouts are you coming from?
So from Phoenix, Arizona,
okay.
In the U.S., which is basically a big desert. I think most people who are aware of Phoenix or Arizona assume it's hot, and it is. I can confirm it's very hot there.
All right. You came over with the whole family, as I understand, yeah?
That's correct, yeah, wife and 3 kids. Yep.
Okay, well, welcome. How do you like it so far in Slovakia?
We're loving it so far. It's very family and like little kid-centric. My oldest is 7, so our kids are young, and it's very walkable. We're loving it so far.
Baseball is not a big sport here in Slovakia, I would say. Thinking about it, I can't think of any pitch that I would recognize, even here around Bratislava being the largest city. So maybe for those who maybe do not know the rules so much, can you just briefly describe how the sport works?
For sure, yeah. So this is kind of funny because you mentioned a pitch is like a sporting field. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Like a soccer pitch, I'm aware of the term. But in the U.S. for baseball, we call it a baseball field.
Field. Okay.
And a pitch is actually, I was a pitcher. That was my position. So I threw pitches, is what they say. And so, just like some, quirkiness between the languages and cultures. But basically, baseball's, played on typically a fenced-in field. I think when you're younger, not always. But there's 4 bases. You run around the bases to score a run. There's a pitcher and a defense behind him. And then you're throwing pitches or a baseball to a batter who is, they're trying to hit it, you're trying to get them to swing and miss. My job as a pitcher was to make sure they swung and missed more than they hit it, basically.
Of course, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What does it take specifically to be a pitcher as compared maybe to a batter? How is different that baseball, that sport in it?
It's a little nuanced, I would say. In some cases, there's different skills certainly that are needed. And honestly, if I had to say, every kid would rather be a batter than a pitcher, because if you bat, you get to play every day, you get to play in the field and play other positions. When you're a pitcher, you might pitch and then you need a couple of days off because of the movement of throwing a pitch is pretty difficult on the body, and so you need more time to recover in between when you pitch, so you don't get to play every day. But I would say, when you're younger, as a kid, you typically do both. You'll pitch some days you'll play the field and hit. Very common for people to do both. As you get older and maybe into the professional ranks, you typically want to specialize in one. Similar to like any, I think, professional field, you kind of find your niche of what do you do really well, and so you kind of just end up specializing in that. For me, it was pitching. I was just a better pitcher than I was a hitter, so that kind of took care of itself.
I guess you kind of hit as well.
Maybe a little bit, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Do you know, are there any types of pitchers? Like, by the way, how they throw the ball?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a lot of variation to it. And that's kind of the name of the game as a pitcher is I want to differentiate myself from the other pitchers because the batters are seeing pitchers every day over and over.
Yep.
So if we all look the same, it's easier for them to hit. So whether you throw higher or lower, or there's right-handed pitchers, left-handed pitchers, different pitches you can throw. You're trying to make your pitches and the pitcher you are very different from your peers, because then the batters have a totally unique person to figure out, and then if they don't have time to figure them out, you will have beaten them in that game. So that's kind of the name of the game, I would say.
Were you fast pitcher?
So I would say a little bit above average. I can't do the calculation in my head, but like the hardest I ever threw was 96 miles an hour.
Okay.
I would pitch in the like 90 to 93 mile an hour range, which currently I would say is about average for a Major League Baseball pitcher. Yeah.
It's quicker than cars can go here on highway. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yeah.
So it's fast enough to me. All right, fantastic. What league have you played? Maybe this is interesting for people to know.
Yeah. So there's kind of a funneling process with baseball. So when you are originally drafted or get into the professional ranks, there's actually 7 layers of minor league like developmental levels that you have to succeed in order to get to the ultimate major league level, which is the highest level that there is. At that point, you're playing with the best of the best around the world, not just in the U.S., but baseball being popular in the Caribbean and as well as in Asia. There's players from all around the world in Major League Baseball. So for me, I ascended all 7 of the minor league levels, and then ultimately got a chance to pitch in the major leagues. I was there for approximately a week, but got to pitch in there a handful of times, which was the ultimate dream, what I set out to do from when I was a little kid. So when I was called up initially, that was with the Toronto Blue Jays organization. And so I played in, we were on the road. I never actually pitched in Toronto, but I pitched in Baltimore twice and then once in Miami.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What would you recall as something that you are really proud of, what you have achieved in the game?
Ultimately it's the opportunity to pitch in the major leagues. Course. When in the U.S. and baseball is a very popular sport. So as a kid, you watch your heroes on TV playing their sport, and you emulate them, you copy them in the backyard with your friends and your brothers. And so, from the time I got into professional baseball, the goal is, how do I get to the major leagues? How hard do I have to work? How consistent do I have to be to ultimately realize that dream and get to do it? Is something that I'll never forget and will always be very proud of.
Yeah, certainly. Did you bowl out someone famous in the game?
I would say relatively famous, but probably not so much here. Probably you'd have to know the game, and even in the U.S., not like big names in the U.S., but famous if you follow baseball. Yeah.
But you bowled someone out. That's good.
Yes.
All right, good. Now maybe a little bit about this parallel being accountant, right? So have you studied accounting before? And maybe, when did you start thinking about what your future should look like, whether it's a sport or maybe something different? Yeah,
it's a bit interesting because I initially went to college to study, and I was studying accounting. That was the major that I chose. That was the focus that I had chose. I was also there on a scholarship for baseball. I was good at baseball, so I got a scholarship. For me, baseball was fun. I enjoyed playing, and I enjoyed the camaraderie and the teammates in college. I didn't know I was going to be good enough to play professionally when I first got into college. Mm-hmm. As I developed, got bigger and stronger, that became a possibility that said, okay, here's my one chance to go play baseball professionally. I'm going to take it. Mm-hmm. So after my 3rd year of college, I left to go play baseball. So I still had 1 year left. Played baseball for 10 years. I knew I was going to go back to school at some point to finish my degree. So after 10 years...
So you paused your studies completely?
Yes, yeah. Okay. So after 10 years, I went back to finish my last year of college. So I was in college, as a young 20-year-old, having fun in college, to being in my 30s with a kid.
Like a parent.
Yeah, so very different college experiences for sure. But, I ultimately knew I was going to return to finish at some point. Yeah. Just baseball career went as long as I could take it. Yeah.
When did you join the PwC?
So my first year would have been 2020.
2020. So this is already after you fully stopped playing baseball?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the triggering point for stopping the career was what?
For me, it was really family driven. So my wife and I had our first child in 2018, which was the last year I played. So he was born in March, which is the beginning of the baseball season. I was with them for the first 3 days of his life, and then I had to leave because where I was playing was on the other side of the country. So I saw him until he was day 3, and then I didn't see them again until he was 3 months old after that.
Right.
Which was pretty hard. It's a hard time of life for the mom as well. Like that's not an easy time with a baby. So that was challenging. And then, ultimately I knew I wanted more stability, a little bit more, security as far as knowing what my years ahead were going to look like. With baseball, I would say for 99% of the people who play professionally, it's very much year to year. You may have a job for the next year, you may have a spot next year, but ultimately you could get hurt, your career could be over, or they're drafting new players every year. Somebody takes your spot, they're just better than you. That happens, and so there's not a lot of security and kind of confidence knowing what's the future years are going to look like. Once I had a wife, a child, I said I kind of need to make sure I have some stability, and so. I ultimately knew, probably wasn't going to play forever. You can only play professionally for so long anyway. And 10 years in, the physical toll of the preparation needed in the off season, going into each game, it was a lot. So I think it was just kind of, my time to transition into life after baseball.
Okay, so you entered PwC, which is certainly not as a granted career, and you needed obviously to fight your path through it. So maybe tell us a little bit about how that career has been developing, and how did you find yourself here in Slovakia?
I'll tell you, accounting in my mind just continues to open doors. That's what I was always told very early on in my college studying days was if you can handle the accounting, schoolwork, the education of it, it's difficult. It's not easy to understand, but if you can grasp it, you'll kind of have more doors open for you. And so that's really been my experience. Baseball really, I think, taught me a lot about being disciplined, being consistent, being a good teammate, and understanding that things can be hard, but we can do hard things, which is jokingly what I tell my 3-year-old all the time. He doesn't agree all the time, but that's what we talk about. The transition, I would say, it was pretty seamless, weird enough to say, even though they're very different, just kind of developing some of those skills and learning some of those things through the sport. As soon as I got into the accounting career, I kind of had an open mind about where the career would take me. If I was asked to try this engagement or that engagement, I would give it a go and do my best. And ultimately, through the people that I met in the U.S., opened some doors, some opportunities to potentially come here to Slovakia, which was something my wife and I had wanted to try and experience, and leverage the global network that PwC is, specifically while our kids were younger, before they get too rooted with friendships and schools and things like that. This is a good time in their life as well. So it really made sense for us as a family, and then professionally, I've learned to just be very adaptable and flexible and just open-minded and interested in everything. So the opportunity to do it for me was a no-brainer, as long as I had my wife and kids buy off, which they were all in on as well. So basically through just directors and partners that I happened to work with, the opportunity became known of, and so more or less you put my name in the hat and kind of saw where the cards fell.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
If you would have been asked now, come and play again, maybe not in US necessarily, but somewhere in Europe, what would you say? No, accounting opens more doors.
So it's, I think it's funny. I think when we had chatted just before, I really haven't played since I retired in 2018. I know for a fact that there was a couple of people who I worked with in the U.S. that, I want to try and hit off you. You're going to pitch to me. I said, I need a couple months to prepare because my arm will fall off if I just try and throw a pitch right now. So baseball is always, it's always where my heart's going to be. I love sports. I love all sports. And so it would be fun to try it. But I know the physical toll and what's required for me to compete at the level I would want to would be a lot harder than for me to just say, I think I'm going to keep pursuing the accounting career.
Okay. I think you mentioned a couple of things, but what have you kind of pulled from the sport itself now in your career? There are moments, and we all know that we are going through difficult times, whether it is just keeping the time or communication or being disciplined or anything that our job takes. What do you kind of reflect as, okay, I'm pulling this expertise from the sport and utilizing it here? Yeah,
there are really more things than I think I would have ever expected when I was playing the sport. That we talk about like transferable skills, things you learn in one career that you can take to the next. Yes. And the assumption would be that any sport, baseball as well, that you really wouldn't like learn something that you could use in an accounting career. But really, the technical part of accounting, right? You learn that with time. I think it's mostly like learning about yourself. How can I learn? How do I take care of myself? As well as how do you treat other people? How do you work with other people? Everything we do is in teams, and that's all sports are. I mean, maybe not every sport. Something like tennis, maybe you're by yourself, but like most sports, right? You are involved with a team and how to work with a team. And so, I talked about being like adaptable and flexible. These are things that I had to learn through baseball. I could pitch really well for 1 month straight and never get a promotion, but that's just because there were other people pitching well as well, and there wasn't a spot for me to move up. So I've got to be patient. I've got to like make sure I stay with it and stay consistent. So when the opportunity does come up, I'm ready to jump on it. And the discipline that was required to play professionally for a long time requires a day in and day out. Take care of your body. Make sure you're getting yourself ready. If you don't, you're going to be more apt for injury, cut your career short. So for me, I enjoyed that kind of mental game where I had to kind of keep myself locked in. I think that helped me sustain a long career, and I enjoyed that part. And so you get into an accounting career, and there's times we get into busier seasons where it's hard. You've got difficult questions to answer, yep. Sometimes difficult conversations with clients or peers. And kind of, sticking with the process, using the resources around you and leaning on your team are things that I think I learned quite well in baseball and have really kind of carried over well into the accounting career. Do you think you can read the other person across the table? Since coming, 10 years, you are basically reading the better. So I think to some extent it's probably helped. The only I would say difference is for me when I was pitching in baseball, I would read your swing. So I might not look at you, but I might watch your swing. Oh, maybe my gestures and how do I feel? Yeah. Yeah. And so I could determine, okay, this is how you're swinging. So I'm not going to throw this pitch. I'm going to throw this pitch instead. But yes, exactly. And then I think similarly, for a pitcher, we work very closely with the catcher in baseball, the person who, you guys are on the same page. He's reading the batter's swing just like I'm reading the batter's swing to determine what's our plan, what's our strategy going forward. And you talk before the game, you talk after the game. So similarly, you're going into a client call and you're there with your peers. Okay, how are we going to handle this call? If it goes this direction, what's our plan going to be? And kind of working off of each other, right? I think, I think these things kind of inherently worked through baseball, which is, again, when I was in the sport, I would not have told you, no question, this will help me in accounting in 10 years. I would have never known at the time. Very interesting, and really to me it was amazing when I first heard about your story that you opted to come to be an accountant and actually grow and be a successful person, and I really wish you all the best here, being here in Slovakia. You have a mission here for next couple of years, so I hope it's going to be equally so successful as it was in the sport before. So thanks a lot for coming over. Obviously, I would love to have a game with you a little bit. So let's see what I can do and whether you're gonna kill me or not. Couple of quick fireside questions. Yeah, let's do it. All right. So left-handed or right-handed? Right-handed. Right-handed. Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you morning or evening? Man, I like to be in the morning because I like my peace and quiet time, and I know the kids aren't going to be up in the morning. In the evening, I think I'm usually just tired. It's a long day with work and the kids. I have the time, but I'm tired, so I like to be up early. Okay. And burger or brinzové halušky? Probably burger, yeah. I'm going to need the translation for that after. Okay, well, thanks a lot again. As I said, I'm wishing you all the best, and see you around. Thank you so much.